Introduction: Reclaiming your self-respect. How often have you caught yourself saying yes when deep down you desperately wanted to say no? How many times have you rearranged your life to meet someone else's needs while neglecting your own? This cycle of self-sacrifice in the name of kindness, avoiding confrontation, or maintaining harmony isn't just common, it's a deeply ingrained pattern for many of us. Yet, here lies a sobering truth: continually putting others first doesn't make you considerate, it makes you overly accommodating to the point of being soft. And this softness is more damaging than it appears. It slowly erodes the most fundamental relationship you will ever have, the one you have with yourself. This book is your guide to breaking free from the chains of people-pleasing and rediscovering your worth. It's not about abandoning kindness or empathy, but about redefining what it means to care, starting with caring for yourself. Your time, energy, and boundaries are precious. Protecting them isn't selfish, it's essential. When you neglect self-respect, you unintentionally teach others that your needs, voice, and boundaries can be disregarded. You might think you're being accommodating, but in reality, you're showing others that your priorities are secondary to theirs. Over time, this dynamic not only drains you but also chips away at your confidence, leaving you resentful and disheartened. But there's good news: you can reclaim your self-respect. And it begins not with harshness or aggression but with a renewed commitment to your worth. In these pages, you'll discover how to set firm boundaries with compassion, say no without guilt, and prioritize your needs while maintaining authentic connections with others. You'll learn how to navigate life with clarity, confidence, and strength, transforming your relationships, career, and inner world in the process. It's a journey of self-discovery, one that invites you to stop bending like a tree in the wind and instead stand tall and rooted in your truth. So, if you're ready to step into a life where your self-worth takes center stage, let's begin. Your journey to reclaiming self-respect starts now. Chapter 1: Identifying People-Pleasing Patterns. Have you ever paused to ask why you often put others' needs above your own? Maybe it's a boss asking you to stay late again, a friend requesting yet another favor, or family members relying on you without considering your limits. You say yes even though you're overextended, tired, or emotionally depleted. This is the hallmark of people-pleasing, a habit rooted in fear and a longing for acceptance. People-pleasing often stems from a fear of rejection or a desire to avoid conflict. You might tell yourself that agreeing with others, even when it contradicts your values, will preserve peace and strengthen relationships. But here's the irony: every time you ignore your own needs, you weaken the foundation of your self-respect. The first step in reclaiming your self-worth is recognizing the situations and relationships where you fall into this pattern. Is it with authority figures, like your boss, or in personal relationships, such as with a partner or friends? Perhaps it happens during family gatherings, where expectations run high. Pay attention to the emotions these moments evoke: guilt, anxiety, or resentment. These feelings are signals that your boundaries are being crossed. But instead of berating yourself for accommodating others, celebrate the fact that you're becoming aware of these patterns. Awareness is the first step toward change. Chapter 2: Understanding the Roots of Self-Respect Deficits. To address why self-respect deficits occur, we must first look inward. These patterns rarely arise overnight, they're cultivated through years of conditioning. Maybe you grew up in an environment where your feelings or opinions weren't validated. Perhaps you were taught that being nice meant sacrificing your needs for others. Over time, these experiences erode your sense of worth. Toxic relationships or jobs can also play a role. If you've been in a situation where you were criticized, undervalued, or taken for granted, it's easy to internalize those messages. You might start believing that you're unworthy of respect and settle for far less than you deserve. Additionally, societal norms often reinforce these tendencies. The pressure to be accommodating, avoid conflict, or conform to traditional gender roles can make it seem selfish to assert yourself. But putting yourself last isn't noble, it's harmful. Acknowledging these influences isn't about placing blame, it's about understanding. Only by identifying the roots of these deficits can you begin the work of rebuilding your self-respect. Chapter 3: The emotional toll of constant apologizing. Do you find yourself saying sorry far too often, even for things that aren't your fault? This habit might seem harmless. But excessive apologizing sends a powerful message to yourself and others: I am at fault even when you're not. Emotionally, this self-deprecating behavior can leave you feeling small, unworthy, and perpetually wrong. Socially, it diminishes your credibility. Over time, people may stop taking your apologies seriously because they're so frequent. Worse, they may lose respect for you because you don't seem to respect yourself. The solution? Start by noticing when and why you apologize. Ask yourself, is this apology necessary? If not, replace it with an alternative. For instance, instead of saying, I'm sorry for being late, try, thank you for your patience. Shifting your language subtly reinforces your self-respect while maintaining consideration for others. Chapter 4: Setting boundaries with love and clarity. Setting boundaries is one of the most transformative steps you can take toward building self-respect. Many people fear that establishing boundaries might come across as selfish, cold, or unkind. However, boundaries aren't about shutting others out, they're about creating a healthy framework for how you interact with the world and how the world interacts with you. Think of boundaries as a fence around a garden. The fence doesn't exist to isolate the garden but to protect what's within. Similarly, boundaries protect your mental, emotional, and physical well-being, allowing you to thrive. Start by identifying areas in your life where your limits feel frequently tested. Is it in your personal relationships, where you feel drained from constantly giving? Or at work, where you're expected to go above and beyond without recognition? Perhaps it's in social situations, where you agree to plans you don't want to attend. Once you've identified these areas, articulate your boundaries clearly and assertively. Use I statements to express your needs. For instance, instead of saying, "You're always asking too much of me," try, "I feel overwhelmed when I take on more responsibilities than I can handle. I need to limit what I can do." Setting boundaries doesn't mean you stop caring about others. In fact, it allows you to show up more authentically in your relationships because you're no longer sacrificing your needs. Healthy boundaries create mutual respect, where both parties feel valued and understood. Remember, it's okay if asserting your boundaries feels uncomfortable at first. Discomfort is a natural part of growth. Over time, as you see how respecting your limits strengthens your self-worth, it will become second nature. Chapter 5: Prioritizing your emotional needs. Your emotional needs aren't luxuries, they are vital aspects of your overall well-being. Unfortunately, many people view their feelings as secondary or even irrelevant, prioritizing others' happiness instead. This pattern can leave you feeling neglected, anxious, or even depressed. To prioritize your emotional needs, start by recognizing them. What do you need to feel fulfilled, supported, and at peace? For some, it might be alone time to recharge. For others, it could be open communication or validation from loved ones. Once you understand your needs, make a commitment to meet them, without apology. Meeting your emotional needs doesn't mean being selfish, it means taking care of your mental and emotional health so you can show up fully in your life. For example, if you're feeling drained after a long day, give yourself permission to decline a social event. Or if you need clarity in a relationship, initiate a conversation rather than suppressing your feelings. Additionally, practice self-care routines that nurture your emotional well-being. Journaling, meditation, therapy, or even a simple walk in nature can help you process your emotions and reconnect with yourself. The more you honor your emotional needs, the more you reinforce your self-respect. You're telling yourself and the world that your feelings matter. And that's a powerful shift. Chapter 6: The Power of Saying No. Saying no is one of the most challenging yet empowering things you can do for your self-respect. For many, the word no is tied to guilt, fear of rejection, or a desire to avoid conflict. But saying no isn't about pushing others away, it's about making room for the things that truly matter to you. Reframe your perspective on saying no. Instead of seeing it as a rejection, think of it as an affirmation of your priorities. When you say no to something that doesn't align with your values or limits, you're saying yes to something more meaningful, your time, energy, and peace of mind. Here's how to say no with confidence. 1. Be clear and direct. Avoid vague responses like, "I'll think about it," if you already know your answer. A simple, "I'm unable to commit to that right now," is both respectful and firm. 2. Show appreciation. Acknowledge the request with gratitude before declining. For example, "Thank you for thinking of me, but I'll have to pass." 3. Avoid over-explaining. You don't owe anyone a detailed justification for your decision. A brief response is enough. 4. Practice saying no, if it feels unnatural. Rehearse scenarios in advance. The more you practice, the more confident you'll become. Saying no might feel uncomfortable initially, but it's an act of self-respect. Each time you assert your boundaries, you're reinforcing your worth and teaching others to value your time and energy. Chapter 7. Overcoming the fear of rejection. The fear of rejection is one of the most significant barriers to self-respect. It can hold you back from asserting yourself, setting boundaries, or prioritizing your needs. But here's the truth: rejection is an inevitable part of life, and learning to face it with resilience is essential for personal growth. First, understand that rejection doesn't define you. When someone says no to your needs or dismisses your boundaries, it's not a reflection of your worth, it's a reflection of their perspective or limitations. Separate their response from your self-esteem. To overcome this fear, practice small acts of courage. Start by asserting yourself in low-stakes situations. For instance, express an opinion in a group discussion or ask for a favor. Each small victory will build your confidence and reduce your sensitivity to rejection. Additionally, reframe rejection as a learning opportunity. Instead of internalizing it as a failure, ask yourself, what can I take away from this experience? Often, rejection opens the door to better opportunities or deeper self-awareness. Finally, practice self-compassion. Remind yourself that everyone faces rejection at some point, it's a universal experience. Treat yourself with kindness and understanding. And don't let a single no deter you from asserting your worth. Chapter 8. Embracing healthy selfishness. The word selfish often carries negative connotations. But there's a version of selfishness that's not only healthy but necessary. Healthy selfishness is about putting your needs first when required, recognizing your worth, and prioritizing your well-being. It's not about disregarding others, it's about creating a balance between giving and receiving. Think of healthy selfishness as self-preservation. You can't pour from an empty cup. So taking care of yourself ensures you can show up fully for others when needed. This could mean carving out time for rest, declining obligations that don't align with your goals, or simply speaking up when your boundaries are crossed. To embrace healthy selfishness. 1. Reframe your mindset. Understand that prioritizing yourself isn't wrong, it's necessary. 2. Set non-negotiables. Identify what matters most to you and make those things a priority. 3. Let go of guilt. Remind yourself that taking care of your needs allows you to be a better version of yourself for those around you. When you embrace healthy selfishness, you're telling the world, and yourself, that you are worthy of care, time, and respect. This mindset shift is foundational for building lasting self-respect. Chapter 9. Cultivating emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence, EI, is a cornerstone of self-respect. It's the ability to recognize, understand, and manage your own emotions while empathizing with the emotions of others. When you cultivate emotional intelligence, you strengthen your self-awareness, enhance your communication, and build healthier relationships, all of which reinforce your self-worth. The first step to cultivating emotional intelligence is recognizing your feelings without judgment. Instead of suppressing emotions like anger, sadness, or frustration, acknowledge them. Ask yourself, why am I feeling this way? What triggered this response? By understanding your emotions, you take the first step toward managing them effectively. Next, practice empathy, not just for others, but for yourself. Self-empathy means treating yourself with the same kindness and understanding you'd offer a close friend. When you're struggling, instead of criticizing yourself, say, "It's okay to feel this way. I'm human. And I'm doing my best." Emotional intelligence also involves healthy expression of your feelings. For example, instead of bottling up resentment, address the issue respectfully. Use phrases like, "I felt hurt when," or "I need," to communicate your emotions without assigning blame. This not only fosters better understanding but also helps you maintain your self-respect by advocating for your needs. Lastly, emotional intelligence includes managing relationships with care. Understand that conflict is inevitable, but how you handle it can either build or erode respect. Approach disagreements with an open mind. Seek solutions, and stand firm on your boundaries without hostility. This balance demonstrates both self-respect and respect for others. Cultivating emotional intelligence is a lifelong practice, but each step brings you closer to a more balanced, empowered version of yourself. Chapter 10: The Transformative Power of Self-Compassion. Self-compassion is often overlooked in the journey to self-respect, but it's one of the most transformative tools at your disposal. It's about extending the same kindness, patience, and understanding to yourself that you would offer to a loved one. When you practice self-compassion, you acknowledge that you're human, imperfect, fallible, and learning. Instead of berating yourself for mistakes, you approach them with curiosity. What can I learn from this? This shift in perspective turns setbacks into opportunities for growth. Daily self-compassion practices can be simple yet powerful. Start by monitoring your inner dialogue. Replace critical thoughts like, "I can't believe I messed that up," with gentler alternatives, "It's okay. Everyone makes mistakes. And I'm learning." By softening your inner voice, you build a foundation of self-acceptance. Another practice is writing yourself a letter of encouragement during tough times. This helps you connect with your feelings, acknowledge your struggles, and remind yourself of your resilience. Over time, this habit strengthens your belief in your ability to overcome challenges. Self-compassion also involves recognizing when to rest. Many people push themselves to exhaustion, equating busyness with worth. But prioritizing rest and recovery is an act of self-respect. Whether it's taking a nap, enjoying a hobby, or simply saying no to an extra task, these moments of care remind you that your well-being matters. Ultimately, self-compassion doesn't mean ignoring your flaws or avoiding accountability. It means recognizing that you can hold yourself accountable with kindness instead of harshness. This mindset empowers you to grow while preserving your self-worth. Conclusion: living with unshakable self-respect. Self-respect is not a single decision but a continuous journey, a commitment to valuing yourself, setting boundaries, and embracing your worth every day. It's about standing tall, even when the world pushes back, and recognizing that your needs, feelings, and goals are just as valid as anyone else's. As you move forward, remember that self-respect isn't about perfection or rigidly asserting yourself in every situation. It's about balance, knowing when to stand firm and when to show grace. It's about treating yourself with the same dignity and care that you hope to receive from others. The tools you've gained, identifying people-pleasing patterns, setting boundaries, practicing emotional intelligence, and cultivating self-compassion, are your stepping stones. Use them to build a life where you no longer shrink yourself to fit the needs of others but instead expand into your full potential. Living with self-respect means honoring your journey, flaws and all. It's about understanding that you deserve kindness, Not just from others but from yourself. So, stand up for your time, your energy, and your boundaries. Say no when you need to and yes to the things that truly align with your values. As you embrace this mindset, you'll notice a transformation, not just in how others treat you, but in how you see yourself. You'll feel more confident, more empowered, and more at peace. So go forward with courage. Your journey to self-respect isn't just about reclaiming what you've lost, it's about building a life where you stand proud, strong, and unapologetically yourself.